Welcome to my channel Sci-Fi Love Story. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. The walls of the ceremony hall gleamed like they had never known dust. Sergeant Miles Carter stood at attention under white lights that felt too clean, too sharp. His boots were aligned with glowing floor markers. He had survived artillery fire, vacuum exposure, and a collapsing storm gate at the edge of human space. But this felt more dangerous. The general stepped forward. "For actions during the tempestuous border conflict," the general said, voice echoing, "specifically for remaining inside a destabilized storm gate while under atmospheric collapse, Sergeant Carter is hereby recognized for exceptional valor." Miles kept his face neutral. Recognition meant paperwork. Paperwork meant trouble. The general paused. "In accordance with the treaty between the United Earth Coalition and the Sovereign Storm Courts of Tempestus, Sergeant Carter is hereby awarded a political bond of alliance." Miles blinked. "A what, sir?" "A marriage." The room went silent. Miles felt like someone had quietly removed gravity. "I think there's been a mistake," he said carefully. "There has not." The air in front of him bent. Light twisted inward. And she appeared. Tall, still dangerous. Princess Zephyra of Tempestus. Her hair shimmered like silver in lightning. Her long, elegant ears marked her as stormborn royalty. Faint sparks danced in her pale blue eyes. She studied Miles openly. "This is the human?" she asked. Miles cleared his throat. "Yes, unfortunately." A few officers coughed to hide laughter. Zephyra tilted her head. "He is smaller than the report suggested." "I'm standing right here," Miles replied. "Yes," she said calmly, "that is what concerns me." The general continued, ignoring the tension. "This union symbolizes trust between our peoples." Zephyra crossed her arms. "I was not consulted." "Neither was I," Miles muttered. Their eyes met. There was no fear in his. There was no softness in hers. Only curiosity. Tempestus was not like Earth. It was a world wrapped in living storms. Lightning-powered cities, winds-carved mountains, entire continents shifted under massive weather systems that never truly slept. The Stormborn did not simply survive storms. They commanded them. And Zephyra commanded all. She learned of the engagement while standing on a balcony high above her capital. 3 counselors stood behind her, nervous. "You will marry the human," Counselor Vale said carefully. Zephyra did not turn. "He stood inside a collapsing storm gate," Vale continued. "He defied tempestuous atmospheric collapse and did not retreat." "That sounds like poor survival instinct," she replied. "Or courage." She finally looked at them. The sky darkened instantly. "He is human," she said. "Humans break." Vale swallowed. "Not this one." That interested her. They met in person, aboard a neutral orbital station between their territories. Miles waited in the docking bay, hands behind his back. The doors opened. Wind entered first. Then Zephyra. She did not rush, she did not smile. Miles nodded once. "Princess." "Soldier." Silence stretched between them. He noticed faint electricity in the air around her. She noticed he did not step back. "You are not afraid," she observed. "I am," he answered honestly. "I just don't panic out loud." Her eyes narrowed slightly. Stormborn respected truth. The journey to Tempestus began immediately. The Tempestuan ship did not move like human vessels. It curved through space like a blade through water. During faster-than-light travel, the stars outside twisted into glowing streams. Miles strapped himself into a seat. Zephyra remained standing. "You should sit," he said. "I do not fall." That's not how physics works. Physics works differently when I disagree with it. The ship lurched violently. Miles tightened his grip. Zephyr did not move. He stared at her. You weren't joking. No. For the first time, he felt something stronger than caution. Respect. Tempestus filled the viewport hours later. Storm systems braided across the planet's surface. Lightning flashed inside massive rotating cloud structures. Miles felt very small. Zephyr stood beside him. You may fear it, she said quietly. I do. And yet you came. Someone had to. That is not logic. It's human. The ship descended through heavy atmosphere. Thunder struck the hull but bent away at the last second. When the landing ramp opened, rain poured down in sheets. Zephyr stepped forward. The storm softened instantly. Miles froze. You didn't even look at it. I don't have to, she said. It listens. He stepped onto tempestuous soil. Rain soaked him immediately. The wind circled him. But it did not strike. It watched. The royal court chamber was enormous. Lightning pulsed along the ceiling like veins of light. Tempestuous nobles filled the room, tall figures in flowing charged fabric. A noble stepped forward. The human stands in our court, he asked sharply. Zephyr smiled faintly. He stands where I stand. The noble looked at Miles. He appears fragile. Miles exhaled slowly. I survived your storm gate. Whispers spread. The noble stiffened. That was an accident. Most survival is, Miles replied. Zephyr did not stop him. She watched. The court session dragged on with formal words and quiet tension. Some nobles clearly doubted the alliance. Others watched Miles with open curiosity. Finally, one counselor spoke carefully. The human must understand his role. He must ensure emotional stability within the royal bond. The chamber grew quiet. Zephyr's eyes darkened. Miles stepped forward before she could speak. I am not here to control her, he said calmly. A ripple moved through the nobles. She commands storms, the counselor pressed. And I trust her, Miles answered. The words hung in the air. Trust. Not control. Not fear. Trust. Zephyr's gaze shifted to him slowly. Outside the palace, thunder rolled once. Soft. Curious. The noble who had first insulted him stepped closer. You trust what could destroy you. Miles shrugged lightly. I stood in a collapsing storm gate because someone had to. I married into a storm because someone had to. Humans don't survive by avoiding danger. The noble's eyes flickered. Then how do you survive? Miles looked around the chamber. We survive by standing anyway. Silence followed. Not hostile. Thinking. Zephyr stepped forward beside him. For the first time, she said clearly, a human stands in our court and does not kneel. Lightning flickered along the ceiling. Miles did not kneel. He did not bow. He simply stood. And the storm above Tempestus did not strike him. It listened. And in that moment, something shifted, not just in the court but in the sky itself. The Stormborn began to understand. Humans were fragile. Humans were temporary. Humans did not command the sky. But they did something far stranger. They walked into it. And they stayed. 3 weeks after the court accepted Miles Carter as royal consort, the storms began to behave strangely. At first it was subtle. Lightning struck twice in the same place. Wind currents reversed without command. Storm towers flickered. Zephyr felt it before the scientists confirmed it. The sky was restless. Not angry. Not afraid. Disturbed. Miles found her standing on the highest balcony of the palace, barefoot, eyes closed, hair lifting in charged air. "You feel it too," she said without turning. "I'm human," he replied. "I feel confused most of the time." She did not smile. "This is different." Above them clouds twisted unnaturally, not wild but forced. That was worse. An alarm pulse echoed across the capital. Moments later, a Tempestian officer ran onto the balcony. "Your Highness, objects have entered high orbit, unknown origin." Miles stepped forward. "Show us." A holographic display flared to life. Black ships, angular, mechanical, cold. They did not ride the storms. They cut through them. Energy beams descended from orbit, long columns of blue light striking the upper atmosphere. Where they touched, the storm dimmed. Zephyr inhaled sharply. "They are draining it." Miles stared at the display. "Harvesters," he muttered, "energy siphons." The officer nodded. "Storm output is decreasing by 7% every minute." Tempestus ran on storm energy. Without it, cities would fall from the sky. Within an hour, the war chamber filled. Tempestian nobles argued loudly. Human commanders appeared via transmission from orbiting Earth vessels. "They call themselves the Karox Dominion," a human admiral reported. "They consume high-energy worlds, strip them, move on." Zephyr's eyes glowed faintly. "They touch my sky." Miles studied the tactical map. The siphon beams were anchored to massive orbital machines, shielded, rotating. Human ships fired once. The energy dispersed harmlessly against the shields. "Direct assault won't work," the admiral said. "Their shields feed on atmospheric charge." "Of course they do," Miles muttered. Zephyr turned to him. "You are thinking." "Always dangerous," he replied. The storm outside the chamber windows flickered weakly. Miles looked at Zephyr. "What powers their shields?" "The storm," she said immediately. "What controls the storm?" She did not answer at once. Then she understood. "You cannot mean." "If they're tuned to stable storm patterns," Miles said, "then we give them something unstable." A noble gasped. "That would endanger the planet." "It's already endangered," Miles replied. Zephyr's gaze sharpened. "To disrupt the pattern," she said slowly, "I would need to amplify my resonance." Miles nodded. "And I'd need access to the primary Stormgate nexus." The chamber fell silent. The nexus was where Miles had nearly died weeks earlier, stabilizing the collapsing gate. Zephyr stepped closer to him. "That chamber almost killed you." "Almost." "That is not reassuring." "It's consistent." She searched his face. "You would do this again?" "Yes." "Why?" He answered without hesitation. "Because someone has to." The sky above the palace flickered again. Weaker now. Zephyr closed her eyes. Then she nodded once. "Prepare the nexus." The capital darkened as storm energy drained upward into the siphons. Miles descended into the underground Stormgate chamber. The metal walls hummed violently. Pressure readings spiked beyond safe limits. Human engineers linked remotely. "You'll have one chance," a voice said in his ear. "When the pattern shifts, manually force alignment. It will overload the siphons." "And the chamber?" Miles asked. "Likely catastrophic." "Of course." Above, Zephyr rose into the air. Lightning wrapped around her like living armor. She extended her senses into the entire planet. The storm resisted at first, confused by the foreign machines feeding on it. Then she pushed harder. Not anger. Not rage. Control. Miles reached the central alignment rod. The heat was already unbearable. "Orbit." The Karok's machines pulsed brighter as they consumed more energy. Storm output at critical low, the Admiral reported. Zephyr inhaled. Then she did something no Stormborn ruler had ever done. She did not command the storm. She let it feel her. Her doubt. Her fear. Her trust. The storm answered. Wild. Chaotic. Alive. Cloud systems reversed violently. Lightning surged unpredictably. Energy spikes shot across the atmosphere in uneven pulses. The siphon shields flickered. "They're destabilizing," the Admiral shouted. Miles gritted his teeth. Now would be good. Zephyr unleashed the full resonance. Not as a weapon. As a signal. The storm roared. Miles slammed the alignment rod into place. The Nexus screamed. Energy shot upward through the planet's magnetic field in a violent wave. Orbit exploded with light. The siphon machines overloaded simultaneously. One by one, they detonated in silent flashes. Karok ships lost power instantly. Human warships surged forward, weapons blazing. The remaining invaders fled. The sky went quiet. For a terrifying moment. Completely quiet. Miles collapsed to one knee in the smoking chamber. "Did it work?" he rasped. Above, the clouds began to move again. Slowly. Naturally. Rain started to fall. Not violent. Not forced. Alive. Miles woke in a medical chamber hours later. Burns covered his arms. Zephyr stood beside the bed. The air around her was calm. "You survived," she said. "I try to make it a habit." She did not laugh. "You forced the storm to change." "No," he corrected softly, "you did." She shook her head. "I listened to it differently." He smiled faintly. "Welcome to being human." Days later, the royal court assembled again. This time there were no whispers. The noble who once called him fragile stepped forward. "You are breakable," the noble said. "Yes," Miles agreed. "And yet you stand where storms fall." "Yes." The noble bowed. Not out of obligation. Out of respect. Others followed. Zephyr stepped beside Miles before the entire court. "The Karok's dominion harvests worlds," she said clearly. "They believed Tempestus was only power." Her gaze shifted to Miles. "They did not account for humanity." Miles scratched the back of his neck awkwardly. "We're hard to calculate." Laughter rippled through the chamber. Not mocking. Warm. Later on the highest balcony, Zephyr and Miles stood together. The sky above Tempestus glowed, with steady lightning far in the distance. "Peaceful. You could return to Earth," she said quietly. "I could. And yet." He looked at the horizon. "I married a storm," he said. "Feels rude to leave it alone." She stepped closer. "You do not command it." "No." "You do not control it." "No." "Then why does it answer when you stand inside it?" Miles thought for a moment. "Maybe storms don't need control," he said. "Maybe they need someone who doesn't run." Thunder rolled softly across the planet. Not violent. Not threatening. Approving. Zephyr looked at him with something new in her eyes. Not curiosity. Not calculation. Trust. "The sky chose," she said quietly. Miles glanced upward. "Good," he replied, "because I didn't plan on kneeling." Above them, lightning arced beautifully across the clouds. Not as a weapon. Not as a warning. But as a promise. Tempestus had been a world of storms. Now it was a world of alliance. Human endurance. Stormborn power. Not control. Not dominance. standing together. And when the next threat came, it would not face a fragile planet. It would face a storm, and the human who refused to leave it.